Yeah, man. It's the 28th of December 2022. Been a long year. I think next year is going to be a lot better for me, hopefully for you guys. A lot of people are asking me to explain broadcast, and I can understand why because in this surrounding this topic, broadcast can mean many different things. So, what I'm talking about is remote neural monitoring and people that have access to neural monitoring that are using it in malicious ways. That would be gang stalkers. That's what they call themselves. That's what it's known as, gang stalking. A lot of people tend to think that that's some group of weirdos that kind of sneak around behind you in the shadows everywhere you go, and it definitely can be that, and that's called street theater. But ultimately, they're using neural monitoring as the main technology to be able to make that work, to be able to follow you around. If you get away from them, they can always find you. It's based on your neurological broadcast frequency because every person has a unique EMF signature frequency. We're broadcasting, and it can be received and it can be comprehensive in the forms that it is received in, whether that be to computers for analysis of your personal private thoughts. Just pay attention. Pay attention to what you write and what you say, and find out that a lot of times the advertising that is directed at you on the internet is only something that was up here. It's only something that was in your mind privately, something you've never talked about, something you've never discussed with anybody or said out loud or written anywhere. And still, those things come up as advertisements directed at you specifically. And I started noticing that a couple years ago, that things that I would think about, only private thoughts in my mind would come up as advertising. So let's get down to broadcast. So there's a few different things going on with broadcast, probably more than that, but what I can tell you about what I know with broadcast. So first of all, you've all seen an EEG device, something that a doctor might put on your head to read certain things about your brain waves and your thoughts. And a mind control device is very similar to that. And these people that have access to neural monitoring, which should I should reinforce that they are normal people. You do not have to be an FBI agent or some kind of Illuminati to gain access to neural monitoring. You just have to know the right people. You just have to have somebody that's willing to give it to you, unless, of course, you've become some sort of master hacker person and stumbled on it on your own, which is possible. It's a far less likely scenario to have happen than somebody who has neural monitoring decide they want to give it to you so you can join into their gang stalking cult, or these gangs, these terrorist organizations is what they are. These groups of people that use neural monitoring to gang stalk and for broadcast torture. So many of them have these devices that they wear on their head, very minimal devices. They could stick it in a little sleeve and put it in their pocket and go, just like that. And they call it a mind control. And those devices are similar to an EEG device that you would wear on your head. And I see them more like, now this is like uncharted territories because I don't have one, and so I don't exactly know the specifications of one. But these gang stalkers that have them, they call it a mind control, and it acts as a receiver that amplifies what they can receive, and what they can receive can be a few different things. And it's all broadcast. It's all broadcast, but as you know, there's many different ways that they can broadcast. And the whole thing, the whole system is a satellite broadcast system. And EMF is the base of it all. The electromagnetic field of Earth is the energy field that works as the infrastructure, just like you would have towers for a cellular or radio, and they would be emitting a certain amount of power. So they would have a certain perimeter of area that they could broadcast to. And if you're not picking up on the next tower and the next tower, if it's only one tower, like radio stations, they would broadcast from one tower, that as far as I know. And then once you get out of range, you're out of range and it starts fading away, and you start to pick up some other radio station, maybe in the next big city down the line somewhere, and you're picking up on their broadcast tower, and as you get closer to that, the signal will get stronger. And with cellular, your phones, you go from your phone to a tower that's close by, relatively close by, and then from that tower to a tower to a tower. Then maybe it goes to a satellite to another tower if you're going like overseas or something like that. But ultimately, there's this grid of power emitting towers that create this infrastructure for cellular to work and for radio to work, and even Wi-Fi and everything else. There's all these different types of broadcasts that work kind of the same way. Well, EMF broadcast uses the electromagnetic field of Earth, which is pre-existing, it's global, it's sufficient for them to use anywhere on Earth, and there's no dead zones as far as I know of. You could be in an airplane, 30, I've been 36,000 feet and still being attacked by broadcast. Flying from one city to another, across the whole country, all over the place. It doesn't matter. I've been 3,000 miles away from where I know my gang stalkers to live. No different. No different. If anything, they attack more because they're bolder, knowing that you're nowhere around to even possibly consider any options of defending yourself. So obviously, if you're in California or Washington and you need to go to Florida or Georgia to confront your problems, that could take a day of travel, whether it's by plane or 2 or 3 days by any other way. So I've noticed that gang stalkers seem to attack more when I'm farther away. Not that it really matters. Not that it really matters. What they'd love for me to do is to go on a rampage and start committing violent acts. They would love it if I did that, because then I'd be in jail and they'd be able to torture me with free reign and own my life, basically, in a form of slavery, which they already do, but there's always that possibility of some recourse, which I'll get into that later in the video. But right now, let's talk about a couple different things with broadcast. So you might have a gang stalker and they're connected to you with neural monitoring. They're connected to you because you don't have neural monitoring. So they've accessed your neural monitoring. Now let's be clear about what exactly is the neural monitoring. You have a neurological broadcast frequency, which I've explained. This satellite broadcast system can pick up everything about you, everything that your mind is processing. That includes visions, that includes imaginations, that includes thoughts, feelings. Everything that your mind is processing is what this system can pick up. So, with that said, if you don't have access to your neural monitoring, which is an online interface with all the different broadcast settings and connections, possibilities are endless. If you don't have access to that, somebody else does. And they're able to use it at their own discretion. And typically, you will have somebody that has control over your neural monitoring, just like they have control over their own. They have people that are gang stalkers, or even just people that have neural monitoring. They have control over their neural monitoring, and they're able to They're able to control who they're connected with. They're able to have a perimeter around them where other people who are not connected to them are not allowed to have broadcasts in this perimeter around them. And I don't know if this perimeter is something that's adjustable or if there's a standard, 3 or 6 feet. But if you have your neural monitoring, you can disconnect from everybody and nobody can come with their broadcast. They can't come within a certain range around you and get onto your body and cause pain and injury by this type of broadcast attack. Now, the types of broadcast attacks that they can do that I'm aware of. You know, just to kind of touch on this metaverse thing. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's the metaverse. It's the metaverse. And I'm understanding more and more of what the metaverse is. And the way I think the metaverse is pretty well a virtual reality that's based on reality. And where the metaverse came from is neural monitoring. So I don't think the metaverse is neural monitoring. I think the metaverse is some dumbed down version of neural monitoring that they're trying to package up to market to humanity now. The actual metaverse, which is not a fake thing, you probably wouldn't call it the metaverse, but neural monitoring and being able to broadcast in their mind, when they have on this mind control device and they have these things covering their eyes and they're just sitting there, right? They're on mind control. And they can be a broadcast, like a hologram broadcast, virtually invisible to the human eye, but not completely. There are ways to see it. Sometimes you can kind of see it, and I'm sure, absolutely certain, that there are certain types of photography or editing techniques or special cameras that are able to see EMF broadcast holograms. And when you see, when there is a EMF broadcast hologram around you, there's a person somewhere else sitting in their homes, privately away, with a mind control on their head and something over their eyes that they don't want to see two realities at once. And through broadcast, they can receive everything that this hologram can see, and they can experience life somewhere else as if they were that place. So, in that case, when you have these holograms, and it's not like suddenly the hologram came out of their body like a spirit, and they had to walk or fly or whatever to your location. Okay, this. You hear a lot about directed energy weapons. And so these satellite broadcasts are a form of directed energy, and they can be used as a weapon. So when I say it's a form of directed energy, I mean suddenly, poof, a broadcast can appear right here. Without having to come here, poof, it's just here. Suddenly. All right, and they can switch. Poof, I want to be downtown. Poof, I want to be at the World Series. Poof, I want to be on the mountains with the beautiful rainbow and a waterfall. They can broadcast to different places, and it's not virtual reality because it is reality, because these places physically exist and these broadcasts physically exist. The only virtualization of it is the broadcast itself being received and transmitted, but it is reality. And so what you can have is a gang stalker with their broadcast hologram, and it could be this big, or it could be this big, or it could be 15 feet tall. It requires much more power. So, I think when they are, 20-foot broadcasts, I think that requires them to have, to draw energy from our electrical grid. But, that's another debate about a detail. But with these broadcast holograms that are not bound by the same physical laws that a human is bound by, I can't run through this wall right here. They can. They can come right through the wall. And they probably are in my video, just because that's how facetious they are and how empowered they feel. You know, if I said it, they probably just came through the wall, and I can do anything I want. That's what they're always saying. And broadcast telepathy, where you hear them, that's for another video as well. But right now we're talking about these hologram broadcasts. So not bound by the physical laws that a human is bound by, the flesh, and us not having access to neural monitoring to decide I don't want to be connected with anybody. They can come within our perimeter. They can go onto our neural monitoring, because just like I said, they have control and access and control to their own neural monitoring, and most cases somebody has control over your neural monitoring. So in that sense, it's human trafficking and slavery. So whoever has control over your neural monitoring has decided, well, I'm going to let these people on. That's why you end up with the same people day in and day out for years and years. They're addicted to the way your mind works. They love it. They're doing live streams. They feel obligated to put out these shows, and they start to take a personal vendetta to make sure that you don't succeed, and they want to destroy your life. And if you get different gang stalkers, sometimes people say, well, I moved and I got new gang stalkers. Well, if it's not the same people, and you can usually tell you can almost always tell by the personality. But if it's not the same people, just using different voice settings, if it's actual different people, unique people with new personalities, and, you know, actual different people, it's probably wherever you moved, you got sold to somebody there. Human trafficking, slavery. This is human trafficking and slavery. So you most likely got sold to somebody wherever you moved to. Maybe your gang stalkers thought you weren't interesting enough if they couldn't be where you are. And they want to be where you are. They want to, not just this broadcast, but they want to be local. They want to be around the area. So, you know, in general, I've dealt with people, you know, in my neighborhood, and I know they have neural monitoring for a lot of reasons. And I've dealt with some people that I know that have neural monitoring. That's how this all started, with some people that I know. And then some other people associated with them that I don't know. They all got involved and became like this whole group of people gang stalking me. But back to the subject, these hologram broadcasts, they can go into your body. They can get on you, and they can penetrate your body. If you don't have access to neural monitoring to be able to control your settings, to secure your perimeter like they do, they don't let people jump on them, little broadcasts, jump all on them and saturate into their heart or their genitals, bone torture all into their feet. They don't do that. They wouldn't do that. They have access and control of their own neural monitoring. And if they get access to yours, they use your own neural monitoring profile with this interface and all the settings against you to be able to to be able to have that access to your physical body, to use broadcast for torture and to harm you. So that's one kind of broadcast. These hologram broadcasts with a gang stalker sitting there on mind control. And in their mind, they are wherever the broadcast is. In their mind, they're living as that broadcast. When I say living as a broadcast, I mean they're living as a broadcast in their mind while they're sitting there, sitting there at home. They're broadcasting somewhere else, and in their mind, they're somewhere else. They're wherever the broadcast, they're living as that broadcast. And that's a big thing about neural monitoring. And that's, who knows if it's going to take 5 or 10 or 20 years for that to become more of a mainstream thing that people understand, or if I'm going to have to keep fighting with everybody about what's actually possible. When people talk about it's demons, it's the FBI, it's AI, it's AI and direct energy weapons. No. If you can consider these broadcasts, they are directed energy that can just poof up anywhere without having to physically go there from point A to point B. but then they're used as a weapon. So if you want to call it a directed energy weapon, go ahead. It's a broadcast, and they're using it as a weapon, and it is a form of directed energy. So I'm not going to argue with you on that. These gang stalkers, these people with access to neural monitoring, they're using neural monitoring and broadcast to physically attack people, and in their mind, they're living as that broadcast when they're doing that. That's one way that they can attack you. That's one way that neural monitoring works, and that's probably, I think that's probably the most significant thing. Now, another thing that they can do, all right? So picture I'm sitting here, or you're sitting there, and you have a perimeter around you. You've got neural monitoring, and you've got this perimeter around you that you've set 3 feet. Nobody can come within 3 feet of you. All right? But you're connected to somebody else, a target person. They love to say you're a target. You're a target if you don't have access to neural monitoring. That means it's very likely that somebody has targeted you in some way at some point, and which would, in their mind, make you what they call a target. So they're sitting there, right, and they have this perimeter around them, and they can literally, they're broadcasting to you, and they have access to your neural monitoring. So they've actually went onto your neural monitoring to decide where to receive this broadcast of them, their connection. So, and a lot of times this is like, I'll take a picture and then start messing with the editing and stuff, and I can like see a guy sitting there with like, they always got something over their eyes, and they're sitting there with like, you can kind of see a thing on their head, and they're just sitting there. This is them in real life. This is their real life human person. Then they're broadcasting to you. So this broadcast area, this perimeter of them, around them, they broadcasted that to you, and they're on your neural monitoring, and they're deciding where to place that broadcast. So they just, now, what are their capabilities with that? I don't know. If they move around like that, does it like start going, like they're hitting different nerves? I don't know if that's how they do it. I think more like sliding the power up and down, like zzz, 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 zzz. When it's a throb or something, like they get into your body. They put that broadcast of themselves into your body. And that's a less less advanced to some extent, but I think it's hard on them when they get on broadcast, like living as a hologram. I think they use oxygen, and I can tell sometimes that they sound very winded, and it seems to cause them to have a disconnect with reality more so than when they're just sitting there, and they might broadcast themselves. And when they're like that, I think they're still on mind control. I think they're strictly connected to you, living as you, rather than living as some hologram that's running around. And I think when the more advanced that they get with it, when they start to like try to connect to a hologram, and they're connected to you, and they're on mind control, and I think it's very strenuous on them. So I think when they could just sit there and be connected to you, and they're receiving your thought processes, everything, your neurological processes, everything that you're thinking and feeling and seeing and imagining and all of those things, I think that's less strenuous on them than trying to live as like a hologram running around. But I don't know. I just know that these are the different types of broadcasts that they can use. And like I said, it's all broadcast. The broadcast artificial telepathy. Like if there was a hologram standing next to me and they started talking, as long as they're on my neural monitoring connected with the neurological broadcast frequencies, start talking, and the voice, the sound of them talking would appear to be coming from the hologram broadcast. Now, when they're just like connected to you in general, it just kind of comes from around the actual sound, which it's not actual sound, by the way. which is why everybody can't hear it. You could hear it if it's on your frequency, your neurological broadcast frequency, but you couldn't hear it otherwise. And it's just like, you know, Fred up the road, his cell phone doesn't pick up my cell phone calls because they're on different frequencies. Right? I could be on the phone and I could be like, Fred, you don't hear that? You don't hear this phone call? He's like, no, I don't hear it. You're crazy. I'm like, oh, our cell phones are different frequencies. You know, you don't pick up Hot 107.9 on 99, Power 99 or whatever, the radio stations. You don't pick that up because they're on different frequencies. They're flying through the air right now. I don't hear them, but I know that if I turn on my receiver, I can pick up Hot 107.9. I know that if I dial a number on my cell phone, I can pick up that phone call. I don't hear it flying through the air, but it must be because it's a signal. It's not an actual sound wave. Your receiver picks that up and converts that into a sound wave because it's on the right frequency to do so. It's like we're on the right frequency for a gang stalker to broadcast to us because they've set it up that way, accessing our neural monitoring unconsensually, our neurological broadcast frequency. You're going to hear a lot about this, in the coming decade or two, neurological broadcast frequencies. It's getting pretty difficult for people to not start asking a lot of questions with all the different things that are starting to be more mainstream. Not just like metaverse, but like remote controlled items that you wear a mind control headset for, or, any number of things that can be operated from the mind. And they have Neuralink and things like that, where they say like a monkey is playing a video game with his mind, just looking at it, playing it with his mind. And they've successfully done these type of things. And, Neuralink is something else. I think it's very similar to neural monitoring with broadcast, but I think with an actual device that they implant, I think that they can do more. I think that they can do more things, modifications to the mind and things like that maybe are not possible with broadcast. And I think that's pretty well the difference between Neuralink. But I don't know that much about it. I'm just speculating at this point because I do know what's possible just with broadcast. And so a lot of these technologies that they're coming out with is really just baby stepping society into something that they've had for quite some time. And it's going to be one of those things that, I don't know how or when or if they're going to address gang stalking and people using neurological broadcast frequencies for terroristic things and torture and slavery and human trafficking, and because that's really what it is. And I really just don't know if the world's not going to collapse with all of this stuff going on now, because people really don't understand. But it's people are going to start to ask more questions as we move into the future. So it's going to be very difficult for this type of thing to stay hidden, especially with idiots like the guys that I have that are just morons that stuff on my face full time and attacking my genitals and the bones in my feet and my heart, and crawling in my mouth and burning my mouth, crawling in my ears with broadcasts, all kinds of stupid things that I have to deal with that sound so bizarre. And yeah, I came out and, I feel like it's a defamation of character for me to even have to come out and say these type of things because they're doing these type of things. And there's a lot of angles. There's a lot of angles that I'm going to approach about the legalities of all of this stuff in the future. And yeah, I'm one of those people that I'm afraid the more I know and the more I stir up, it starts to become more and more likely that I'll just be killed and eliminated. And it's a scary thing, but I really have no choice, you know, with broadcasts all over my face every day and them attacking my body in ways that I know is long term, it's destroying my body and ultimately killing me. So, two more things. Devices. I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm not absolutely certain about how it works, but what I know is for a fact is that they can get into anything. I'm fairly certain that they can actually use broadcast technology to connect to your device. They are running programs. If I turn on my MacBook, I got a MacBook Pro, I turn it on and not do anything. Close every program and I open up the console and it'll have 500,000 messages in 5 minutes. And they're running some programs to just to basically take over, give themselves complete control in the background, run virtual devices, do EMF broadcast, live streaming, and all of this type of stuff that they're doing. I believe that they can connect to my networks and my devices with the current capabilities that they have, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and I believe that they can connect through that with their broadcast. And so I don't think that they have to really break in past that point, because I think past that point, they're operating as you. And so they don't, you know, to get out to the internet or onto your accounts or run these live streams or do anything else, I think they're operating as you doing it yourself. That's how they're able to get past so much security stuff online, because they're just operating as you in the first place. They can definitely get on to every device that you have. I got iPhones, Androids, iPads. I've been on Chromebook, Windows, PCs, and MacBooks, all of those things, and they're able to get into everything. They're able to get onto any account. They create these custom interfaces of like your Facebook account, and or they'll create a custom Facebook with this like custom interface that'll have like all this, like if you got groups or if you got pages or even your profiles and stuff like that, that'll have this integrated into some of their own custom accounts. And they do this probably with other social medias too, and it's their gang stalker version of your account, and they're very much tied into your networks, your devices, your accounts, and everything. And I'm certain that there's a way to get to the bottom of it all. And so, but they can definitely get into you buy a brand new MacBook tomorrow, they'll be in it in 5 minutes. If they want to be, they'll be in it in 5 minutes. And I don't know what can be done about it. And I've been studying this stuff for a little while. So that brings me to the last subject of what to do, what to do about it, or what I'm doing about it, and kind of where the direction I'm headed and where it all stands. These people are addicted to mind control. They don't have to have a regular job. They've been able to torture people and own people through neural monitoring and broadcast people's lives and do a lot of horrible things unchecked completely. I honestly feel like they should get capital punishment, and we should, you know, send them to the death penalty. That's what I think, because they've developed this mentality of owning people and torturing people and controlling people to the extent like they've been doing it for decades, and nobody tries to stop them, and they're feeling that empowered, and they're very dangerous to humanity in general. But to individual people's lives, they're very dangerous and destructive. And I'm sure that gang stalking is responsible for, and broadcast torture, responsible for probably many, many millions of deaths around the world. And that's all murder. That's all murder is what that is. And mind control is... You know, I've talked about mind control a lot. Search my channel about how mind control really works, because it's not what you think. Mind control is not really what you think. And but it's all from my own personal experience and my perspective. So maybe somebody else is a zombie just on being mind controlled, but to me, it doesn't work that way. So what am I going to do about this? Well, I tried everything. I've tried the local police. No help there. I've filled out at least probably 25 police reports at my local police department, and I've went to a couple of surrounding police departments, and they've never even called me back, not once. I've I've filed several reports with the FBI. I've done some of those publicly on my channel. They never contacted me back. I've filed reports with Homeland Security, the CIA, the GBI in my home state of Georgia, which is like the FBI for the state level, the State Department. I'm sure I've missed a few, but if I could find a government agency, Homeland Security, all of them, I've filed complaints and cases or reports with all of them, and none of them have ever contacted me back. If you're following my channel very much, you know I started dealing with this a decade ago, and I came out public with it probably late 15 or early 16, and so I've been what, 7 years public? 7 years public, going into the 8th year public. Nobody's ever helped me with any of it. They've had complete control over my devices and my services and my networks, and a lot of times if they decide to suppress me, they will. They'll make a video take, 40 hours to upload when it should literally take 4 minutes, and because I have a good service plan with a top provider and all of this stuff, even on Wi-Fi or anything else, they'll just stall it. If they want to keep doing their torture session live stream, and they'll just stall the upload for a long time. Okay, real quick, let me just talk about what I'm doing about it. All right, I've filed with all of those agencies, and I've decided that I'm gonna have to do this myself. And I think that you guys should decide the same thing, and then we can start collaborating with some actual progress being made, rather than let's say, oh, well, who are we gonna file? Let's try to go to the United Nations, or let's try to go to the FBI, or let's try to create a rally, or let's become computer programmers. Let's become hackers. Let's become millionaires. Let's become those things, because those things are going to put us in a position of power by having the means to do things and the knowledge to do things. If you're a top-notch hacker, and most of you guys that are being targeted, you might have made a lot of mistakes and been down the wrong path, but it's very likely that you're very intelligent, because these idiots love to be connected to somebody that's smarter than them, because that's the thrill of it all, to receive the rocket scientist and comprehend it in your idiot mind, and it's just an example, but that's the gist of it, really. You got a smart person being received by a dumb person, and so this dumb person is blown away by it. And so it's that interesting. That's why they'll stick around for a decade, and they're not bored with it. Because they can't achieve this level of awareness on their own. They're not mentally capable. And so if you can become something great and somebody with a lot of resources, if you're a multi-millionaire and you got the money to pay all kinds of lawyers and professionals to really start to, you'll get your neuromonitoring. This is what you'll do. You'll get your neuromonitoring, and a lot of people will owe you a lot, and you'll be in a great position of power, which, I'm not hungry for power. I'm hungry for freedom. I'm hungry for privacy. So, and that's what I'm aiming for. So I'm in my 2nd year of computer programming. I'll probably be doing this for about maybe 10 years or more until there's nobody that can teach me anything else. I'm just going to keep going. And, I've started with 4.0, and I ended up taking on too much at one point, and I got a C in a class, so I'm down to like a 3.8 or something. But otherwise, I'm doing really well, and I'm learning a lot of stuff. And to me, it's very useful, and I'm starting to become more and more excited about each semester. Like, yeah, I get to learn this and this, and so it starts to come together, And I'm not like some expert coder, and I'm not even really like I've coded a few things, but I'm not really a coder, But I'm starting to take classes on networks and database stuff, and even project management and math classes, like advanced math classes and things. And I'm excited and I feel good about the things that I'm learning, and it's making me a smarter person that understands more about everything. And I'm just gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna keep doing that. The certifications and degrees and everything is gonna give me a better job. And that's the other thing. I work a lot, and I go to school a lot. So I work and go to school, and I do as much as I can to make as much money as I can. I'm trying to learn about financial things as much as I can. And I'm not talking about, invest in a 401k and save 10% for retirement. Like, I'm not trying to do the basic stuff. I'm trying to do the millionaire stuff, the multi-millionaire stuff. So I study this stuff all the time, every day. I've been studying it today. And the markets are bad, and they talk about recessions and everything else, but I don't care. I'm trying to get money a lot. And the more I get, the better position it's going to put me in. So to be able to solve the type of problems that I have. It's expensive. And I didn't put myself in this situation, but I'm in it. And I accept it. So I'm going to climb out of it some kind of way. And it may take another 5, 10 years, whatever it takes. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. So that's pretty much it. That's how broadcast works. That's how neuromonitoring works. That's what I'm doing about it. That's their capabilities. That's my capabilities. This is where it's headed. I'm sure I'll be talking about it a lot more in the future. It's not my favorite thing to be on YouTube talking about all of this, but nobody else is talking about it. Nobody else is talking about it accurately. So this is the real truth about neuromonitoring and EMF broadcasts. Thanks for watching.